We want realtors to be seen as a higher standard from real estate agents when consumers don't know the difference and they don't care about the difference and they never will. This is Byron Lazine without Nicole White, and you were tuned into episode 411 of The Real Word. All right, during last week's legislative meetings, the National Association of Realtors made two big moves, or I guess you could consider them big. I'm going to walk you through both the moves they made. Number one, they noted that they are intensifying its efforts to protect and elevate the Realtor trademark. So this is what the association, your association, is working on. They want to remind members that Realtor is not a job title. It is not a license. It's not a certification, or more importantly, a descriptive term. So speaking at the 2006 Realtors legislative meetings, NAR's senior counsel of trademarks, the Council of Trademarks, Sammy Moskowitz, he emphasized that the term has only one meaning: a member of the National Association of Realtors. So you hear people, I'm hiring a realtor, I'm talking to a realtor. Consumers, they'll interchange this in with agent, realtor, or, they'll say things like realty agent. It's all clumped in together for them. But what Moskowitz is saying is, hey, if you're part of the association, realtor has one meaning only use it as such. So they're encouraging members to self-correct improper usage. Utilize what they call the member test to determine proper use and report trademark violations as part of the association's broader brand protection initiative. So NAR is saying, hey, Narc on your fellow agents. Report any trademark violations. Be a Narc. It's important to us. You gotta dime people out right now if they're using the word realtor improperly. Like, big standard here, big initiative. Remember, this is what they're focused on. I said there's two areas. This is the first one where they're spending a lot of time on this. NAR's brand protection effort as part of the 3-year strategic plan. It includes the initiative to elevate the Realtor brand. They've talked a lot about this with the new regime, elevating the Realtor brand. By the way, they've talked about elevating the Realtor brand. It's not just a new regime initiative. NAR CEOs, board members, executive teams have talked about elevating the Realtor brand for not just years, but decades. This has always been something that NAR talks about. Recently, they launched an interdepartmental brand protection team. They launched that earlier this year. The team is focused on preventing trademark misuse, coordinating branding across platforms and audiences. NAR is addressing misuse of the Realtor trademark by consumers, agents, brokers, and NAR members. So, they'll go after anybody. They want you to narc people out. And so the one meaning, the member test. So again, he's emphasizing not a job title, a credential, a license. They want consumers. So here's the quote from Moskowitz, okay? It's trademark and consumer perception that Moskowitz explained that this trademark indicates the quality of goods that services and consumers can expect. So here's the exact quote. I don't want to misstate what they're saying. So, quote, when we see the word realtor in the marketplace, we want consumers to understand the higher quality of real estate representation that they will be receiving when they work with a realtor. The key word in this quote, and I don't know if Haley wants to put it up on the screen and highlight it. The key word in this is when we see the word realtor in the marketplace, key word here is we want consumers. Hey, Moskowitz. Hey, everybody at NAR. this desire, this want, this need, this approach of trying to get gratification out of consumers recognizing the Realtor brand the way you desire them to recognize it has been going on for years. Okay. And, it just might be time to give it up. Okay. So if you're a realtor right now, listen, you might get slapped on the wrist. You got to use this the right way. And they give an example of proper use. How many realtors will be at the estate association meeting today? Example of improper use. John Doe is a lawyer and a licensed realtor. Okay. You can't say licensed realtor. Don't have that in your email signature. Okay. Don't have top realtor, your realtor, your number one realtor. So if if your IG handle is, XYZ town realtor, you're improperly using it. Okay. Chicago realtor wouldn't fit. Okay. Moskowitz said realtor should distinguish members from non-members. Okay. So it's really just a membership to the association. That's all they mean. And that's it. It means nothing else. Okay. So the second thing that they took up during these conversations is a proposed addition to the Code of Ethics. Okay. So under Article 1, this generated significant debate, as told to realestatenews.com. During the legislative meetings, the proposal would have required realtors to disclose, so a new disclosure form, when they lack sufficient knowledge. So if you're a member, if you're a realtor, this debate that happened at the legislative meetings is to create a new disclosure form when you as a realtor lack sufficient knowledge, sufficient information or skills regarding a property type or geographic area. Okay, there was nearly 30 minutes of discussion. Once the discussion concluded, the board of directors voted 497 to 356 to refer the proposal back to the Professional Standard Committee for further review. By the way, what's the problem with the vote? That there's 800 plus people voting on it. Okay, you get 800 of anybody in a room together. You can't tell me you're going to have the brightest minds on this type of discussion. I can only imagine the discussion. Okay, there's no board of directors of of anything that is a great company that operates more than 12 is kind of the go-to number. We got 800 something people voting on this. This is super subjective when you look at it. Okay, like how can you say that you've got appropriate knowledge, information, of skills of a particular geographic area? What's the barrier? What's the test? If you're a brand new agent, you've never done a deal, do you have to make this disclosure to every single customer that you come in contact with? Like, at what point do you not have to disclose? Because I would argue that you have no experience. If you're part of, a certain team or office and they're supporting you, does that disclosure go away? This seems very loose to me. But this is a proposal. It was kicked back. They want to make this part of the Code of Ethics. And it just becomes very subjective, huge gray area. So no Nicole White here. I'm going to bring in Haley from the BAM team to provide some context, poke some holes in the Racket Round. Racket Round brought to you each and every single week by Reminder Media. And here's a reminder for you. I'm going to be doing a webinar with Luke Aker and Lisa Chinati, how to build a $100 million team. Luke Aker, of course, of Reminder Media. We're doing that on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll put the link in the sign up down below. Haley, let's poke some holes in this. What are the top questions on these two areas of discussion from NAR's legislative meetings.
All right, first question. Is this actually protecting the Realtor brand, or is NAR focusing on the wrong problem?
All right, so going to area number one that they talked about with the usage of the Realtor brand. The thing about, if Mark Davison was doing a brand consultation as he has for some of the biggest companies in our space, he's Mark Davison of 1000 Watt Agency, one of the founders there, obviously. And one of the real bright minds in our space when it comes to brand positioning. It's why all the big companies have hired him at one point or another. Many teams, independent brokers, they all go to Mark. And so, what Mark would tell you about brand is over time, especially when you're an older brand, you've been around for a period of time, that over a period of time, consumers, the public, will shape the brand, meaning their opinions will mean more than your intentions and more than what you want. Moskowitz says, we want this. Well, you've wanted it forever. At some point, the brand evolves into what consumers say it is. Okay, so is this actually protecting it? Or is NAR focused on the wrong problem, as they have been for decades? They have for decades said, we want this. We want people to look at us this way. And they look at you a particular way. And so just beating the same old drum over and over again that we want this, we want that, we want realtors to be seen as a higher standard from real estate agents, when consumers don't know the difference and they don't care about the difference, and they never will care about the difference. Of course, you're focused on the wrong thing. Listen, the horse is out of the barn. Why does consumers not see realtor any different from real estate agent? Number one, every real estate agent historically has been tied into having no choice but to be a realtor. You've diluted what realtor has meant over the years by enforcing that membership. And number two, by creating the barrier of entry to be so low. The cost to be a realtor is insignificant. Okay. I spent more on a Bronzino lunch, taking my parents out and my family on Saturday. A little Bronzino, little steak, little lunch time. I spent more on that than it cost to be a realtor. So why would a consumer say, oh, that's a special thing, when it would cost nothing to be a part of it, when anybody can be a part of it, and when most were forced into it historically? So you're, of course, focused on the wrong angle. And of course, you've diluted what it means to be a realtor based on wanting to drive as much membership revenue as possible to keep your end of the racket running. To throw it back to how the real world all started, everything's a racket. We're in the racket round. You want to keep your end of the racket running, so you've made it super easy and forced the membership over the years. Haley.
All right. If consumers already use realtor as a term for a real estate agent, is this a battle NAR can realistically win?
No. The NAR cannot win. It's been too long you're not going to put that horse back in the barn. It's out. So now you've got to make a decision. Are we actually going to go the other way and create a whole new higher level of standard? How are we going to reinvent? But trying to do the same thing that you've done for years and it hasn't worked out certainly isn't the move. What's the pivot on a move forward is what NAR should be focused on. I mean, no.
All right. If you're a consumer, would you assume that your agent already has the expertise needed to represent you?
Well, I think that here's the thing. A lot of consumers would expect an agent that they're engaging with that is making promises to fulfill on X, Y, and Z. Their expectation is, yeah, they can fulfill on those promises and that they have the expertise. They do this every single day. This is why over 90% of consumers are still hiring an agent, because they want that expertise. Now, a smart consumer is interviewing more than one. A smart consumer is doing a lot of due diligence and research before selecting an agent to represent them in their buy, sell, investment, whatever it may be. Now, if I'm a consumer, I'm hiring a contractor right now. Okay. I'm not expecting that, I'm going to get the same quote from every contractor. I'm not expecting I'm going to get the same level of professionalism. So I'm going through a process of selection. And I think consumers should do the same thing with the services that real estate agents and brokers and teams are offering. But a lot of consumers don't. Okay. Now, does that mean that NAR should focus on putting another disclosure form that nobody's going to read, that's going to get flipped through on 50 other forms on an e-signature basis? No. Okay. Again, going back to what could you do to make the association completely different, elevated? Well, you could actually elevate how hard it is to get in. You could influence states. You lobby states and government all the time. Why don't you lobby for a higher bar for real estate licenses? Why don't you try to impact that? So, I think consumers come from a variety of backgrounds, a variety of assumptions. I, as a consumer, wouldn't assume anything. I don't think consumers should, but some do.
All right, last question. What can agents say to clients if something is outside their area of expertise?
Well, they should say, I haven't done this in the past. Here's how I would approach it in the future. Here's how I would approach it if you want to work with me. Or option B is, here are other areas I would look at that can solve your area of expertise. Agents ask me, I've heard this question over the years. Hey, I want to learn about commercial. You hear this from residential agents. I want to learn about commercial. Dude, well, what part of commercial? I just want to learn how to be a commercial agent. Yep. I said, what part of commercial do you want to learn? Do you want to learn multifamily? Do you want to learn retail? Do you want to learn land deals? Do you want to learn warehouse deals? What part of commercial are you interested in? Oh, just being a commercial. Commercial agents typically are not generalists. Okay. They deal in multifamily. They deal in office. Okay. They deal in retail. They look at land acquisition. Okay. They're pretty much focused on one area. There's lots of different areas in commercial. So that right there tells me you're not probably thinking about this in a thoughtful way. Okay. You're not a generalist. And this is what's working right now in an AI world for agents. Don't be a generalist. Have an offer, have a solve for somebody's situation. Because that's what people are searching up on AI and looking for, who can do X, Y, and Z and get me these things. Going back to, I mentioned Mark earlier in the conversation, Mark Davison, he'd tell you your website should say in particular exactly what you are. It should articulate that. So if something's outside of your expertise and you're a professional, you shouldn't need a form from NAR to disclose it. You should say, hey, if you're lacking options here in the marketplace, or you don't like the options I'm offering, here's how I can attack it. Lack of experience, but here's how we can work together to overcome that. Or you should go and talk to, this is where, if I were referring somebody, if I were doing this, these are the people I would talk to. I can either be a part of that discussion if you want or not. It's up to you. Depends on how many years you've worked with that person. Maybe they're not comfortable going and having this conversation without you there and they want you there. But if something is outside your expertise, you don't know what you're doing, well, you should tell them how you can, help them get to somebody that does know what they're doing. It's very simple. You shouldn't need a disclosure form to be ethical. That's just basic ethics in all of business. You know, if you hire a plumber and you say, hey, while you're here, can you take a look at my roof? I think there might be something going on. They're going to say, you can talk to so-and-so. I mean, I don't do roofing. So agents, same thing. If you don't do something, you just say it. Hey, I don't do that. Here's how I would approach it. If I were you, I can be a part of that approach or not. You know, that really depends on your comfort level of going and having these conversations on your own or not. But I'm here for you either way. All right. There's your Racket Round brought to you by Reminder Media. 4 o'clock Thursday, Eastern time, 1 o'clock Pacific. We're doing a webinar, me and Luca Cree from Reminder Media and Lisa Chinati, how to build a $100 million team. Links down below. I'd love to see you in there. It's totally free. So if you thought about a team, or am I building the right team? Am I in the right vehicle right now for my business? It's going to be a conversation you want to be a part of this Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. Links down below. Have a great week. Hopefully see you Thursday. Until next time, keep it real, guys. So if you watch Netflix, they're doing something right now with all their content that speaks to how consumers are getting information, how people hear information, see information. They're taking the big part of the story and they're repeating it 7-8 times. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck just spoke about this. Every movie, they're kind of watering it down for lack of attention. Your consumers are feeling the same way. There's so much information coming out at them. How do you break through? Well, you don't do it with just showing up on a single postcard once a month when they're already receiving 10. Stand out. That's why agents like Nicole White, who are standing out in their local markets, are using Reminder Media's personalized magazines. Gives you an opportunity to tell a longer story, something people keep. They don't chuck a magazine like they will a postcard. Reminder Media, check them out for a way to stand out and get in front of your consumers. You need to do it more than one way. It's phone call, it's text, it's email, yes, it's social, it's all of it. Show up in the mailbox with something that they can use that's going to stay on the table, tell a longer story. Reminder Media, there's a BAM code to try it out. Try it out today. Hey, our clients are in this like never-ending brain fog right now of what to do, which way to go in the market. We talk about this every single week, how to solve for it, the skills that are working right now inside of our community, BAMX on School. We've opened it up for Real Word listeners to try it out for free for the next 7 days. Go to the link down below or go to school.com/BAMX. and try the community out for the next 7 days. Join me on the role play masterminds every week to get the skills that are working right now in this brain fog market.